A wonderful headline for our newspaper of the imagination, Artist Journal, June 23rd, 2023, broadcasting from the editor's desk on the pirate ship of the mind in Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and it continues, ladies and gentlemen and everyone. What a great piece by Sumi Reyusi. Is it ridiculous to draw anymore? I love it. I absolutely love it. Out of Turkey, for those that are newer to the program that might not know. So what is there to say here? I think it's a wonderful question. It's a great question. I think we know the answer, which it's not ridiculous, but it's an interesting question because it brings up the question of technology, and actually drawing maybe is becoming less and less important. As we're going to see in this episode, there's a new Midjourney 5.2 that you're starting to see from, and it's an interesting question. And it's kind of interesting that text is being used. I think it's accidental, but that text is being used to ask the question. You kind of need text to ask the question. And it's another interesting thing here is, it's also collage. It's not drawn in, which is interesting. Almost in like the deranged note that you might find on your door, that kind of style, or punk rock sort of style. Is it ridiculous to draw anymore? With some beautiful sketching and having fun here, filling in the dots or the squares on the graph paper. We have a kind of a trademark animal in Sumi's work, which is the crow. Some interesting, collage flowers, even a little bit of drop shadow, probably a self-portrait of sorts with cool big shoes here, karma on the knee, and a Pepe in the background, beautifully drawn in, I might add. Sketchbook style. This is the wonderful thing about the sketchbook style. We kind of saw it with that artist, I think the one yesterday, who kind of had the all over the place composition. I like to do it as well. And here, what's also funny about this piece is there's an answer, and then you see a bunch of no's in different languages. And then you see also, I thought I saw some yeahs as well. So I'm not sure if it's all no, but an interesting, very fun piece, all this little stuff. I really do love the sketchbook style, this kind of free-for-all composition, because it lets go of what I almost call, this is going to sound overstated, but the narrative of physical reality. Because all of a sudden you can, just put stuff up and above and anywhere you want. You're not glued to the laws of physics as like what you might consider a traditional narrative painting that's trying to depict something in reality. The sketchbook style, and maybe that's not even the right, terminology, because we see it with Warhol, we see it with Rauschenberg. Is that a sketchbook style? It's just a release from realism, the landscape, again, just juxtaposing iconography, imagery is it feels to me a very modern thing. I mean, when we think of the surrealists, they didn't really do that a whole lot, did they? Max Ernst a little bit, maybe especially in the collage novels, but even those works were still, you might say, grounded in a physical space of sorts. You think of Dali, these are landscapes. You think of Magritte, playing with these elements within, what I'm calling the narrative of physical reality on this Friday morning here. Happy Friday, everybody. And so it's interesting, right? And so it's almost like we needed maybe abstract art, perhaps, to just speculate out loud in our morning coffee that we have together here. It's almost like we needed abstract art to be able to push us over the edge where we could finally let go of physical reality as a subject matter, as a direct subject matter. And in a weird way, to kind of tie the bow on the point, what you start to get, particularly in Rauschenberg and Warhol, and you could argue here as well, is a portrait of psychological reality, of inner space. And here we are, again, broadcasting from inner space here, and with Sumi Reusi as our wonderful headline. So a beautiful work. I'm not sure if it's sold out yet. I just picked one up myself. Edition of 10 for 10 Tezos. Kind of a nice, I have to say, as someone who releases work myself, and you always struggle with the edition numbers and pricing, I gotta say I quite like this combination. You put out a nice piece, let's do 10 for 10 Tezos each. You get 100 Tezos, which is nice for the artist. It's still a low edition number for the collectors and the flippers. It's still a very nice price for the artist, but it's not going to kill you as a collector, right? And you're getting an edition of 10 for someone that has a following. So I quite like that too. I thought it was a nicely chosen edition and price, which is always a challenge. As we were discovering with RJ, in discussion with RJ, everybody deals with this. So anyways, a beautiful work here. There are 3 left, so get it while you can. I'm sure that will sell out maybe by the time you watch this. So just a couple of comments here. Uxine, Mikey de la Creme is a real hero. Check. And also thank you to Tom Bombattle. Thank you, Adrian and Elliot Smith. Good video. I'm wondering if Pocobelli knows what the device is in PP Cop's left hand. So I didn't look too closely. I haven't looked closely yet, but I will keep that in mind, and I will take a look later in case it's controversial. And continuing on, thank you for the comments, everybody. Continuing on, I thought this was a very interesting headline. And maybe the headline is the most exciting part. This was in Art News. A new startup is bringing the Y Combinator model to the art world. And of course, Y Combinator is kind of like for tech startups. And, it's a what would you call it? An incubator. It is an incubator. So I highlighted here. Is it still highlighted? It is not. Let me see here. Here it is. This is what I wanted to highlight here. In 2020, tech entrepreneur Joey Flores asked himself what an accelerator program could do for artists. Almost a decade earlier, Flores had graduated from Y Combinator with his online radio platform Earbits, which promoted the work of musicians. Flores saw a parallel in tech investing and art investing when considering an artist as a one-person startup. And this is so true. This is so true. An artist is really a complete entrepreneur, whether they realize it, accept it, or not. I would maintain you are starting a business to sell your art, unless you don't want to sell your art, but the great majority of people do. I always thought there was a space for a Y Combinator type company in the fine art world, so I started looking into how it could work. And here's the concept. What he came up with is inversion art, as Flores and his co-founder Jonathan Neal call the platform. The company intends to recruit artists for a 3-month accelerator program, during which they will work on strategies to reach their goals with a team of advisors that includes both industry veterans and newcomers. Beyond that, Inversion will provide 5 years of studio management with the option to extend handling services that include banking, accounting, marketing, legal, and inventory management. Inversion takes a 15% fee on all revenue generated during the studio management period, including sales commissions and artist fees from institutions. So I think that's super interesting, and I could imagine this actually working. So it's just kind of an interesting, exciting idea. And so they've already started there, and maybe we'll come back to this, but I just wanted to highlight the idea as a model, and it kind of seems like it's kind of meant to happen, but who knows? I just thought that was interesting. Here's Walk. So we were looking at this yesterday, and I thought it might be fun to just see it again in the studio, because there's nothing like seeing it in context as to what this work would look like. Beautifully done, right to the edge here. So here's Ronald, and it is going for half an ETH. So on a foundation. So the deal is you get the physical included, free worldwide shipping and links. So half an ETH, that's probably about $1,000 now. And you get this work, the NFT and the physical. Beautiful picture of the work, I might add. Ronald, and it is 50 by 62 centimeters. So shout out to Walk, and thank you, Walk, for the tweet and everything. Quick little correction on the show yesterday. Adrian wanted to share that Uxeen's drop is available until June 28th. So it's available now until June 28th, not starting June 28th. So that all makes sense now. So Uxeen's clothing drop, which you can find in his feed, is available only until June 28th. So thank you, Michele, for the information there and the correction. Dr. Version is at Pompidou, and of course, the Centre Pompidou is the Museum of Modern Art of Paris. And so I thought this was quite interesting from a display purpose. It's also interesting to see that they have a CryptoPunk. We heard that they had acquired it. So these are up and being shown. And what I found actually the most interesting is how they decide to display it. It's still not super clear to me if this is just a screen. It looks like a screen, but a square screen. And here is another series that Dr. Version showed from 81 Horizons by New Raphael. And I guess there are 81 of these horizons here, which is funny. And I guess these are like computer monitors. So just interesting to see how the biggest institutions in the world are displaying digital art. This is kind of the big news here. Nick St. Pierre, Midjourney just pushed a new version relating to our headline there from Sumi, version 5.2. Here are 8 side-by-side comparisons using the same prompts and seeds. I also use the new zoom out feature for each prompt. It's honestly a total game changer, best feature in a long time. So here we go. So here we see 5.1. So Midjourney 5.1, the last version. And here is the newest version. It's a subtle difference, but it is. Here you see a straight-on composition, this slightly more dynamic composition. You see it in the face as well. It feels just a little bit more emotive, shall we say, just a little bit more persuasive, even the background as well. And here's with the zoom out function. So incredibly, you start with this, and then you can click zoom out, and you end up with this. It will create everything outside, and quite persuasively, as we can see this. So we have a few more examples here. We see this kind of sci-fi image here. So this is 5.1 and 5.2. I would say I would maintain quite a bit more persuasive here. Back to 5.1, 5.2. It's getting quite persuasive here. This looks like a still in a film, and here's the zoom out. So it's, again, the word is persuasive. And here we see 5.1, I believe, and here is 5.2, and overall the image just looks that much more convincing. So very interesting here, yeah, 5.1 and 5.2. And here's the zoom out, incredibly. So it's getting quite interesting here, and it's developing fast. Here's another interesting comparison. So 5.1 and 5.2. This one I'd say is a bit different, but you do see just, maybe it's the lighting that does it. I mean, the lighting seems a little more dramatic. Like if we go up here, the lighting feels more dramatic here too. It almost seems to have somewhat to do with, it seems to be about the lighting to a certain degree. Again, I'm not an expert. There's the zoom out. So pretty impressive. This is 5.1 and 5.2. So again, you can see where this is going, actually, which is in 2 years, and the zoom out incredibly. So we can go on and on. Again, this looks more like ideal, and this looks more like this is like a real person. And the other person looked real, but this looks just that much more persuasive, doesn't it? And finally, zoom out. So it's getting pretty interesting, and this one was just beautiful, I thought. So 5.1, nice, but nothing special. And again, look at the light here. The light is incredible here. You just feel like you're there, and then look at the zoom out. So pretty amazing. You can see all this stuff online, but I wanted to show it. And what's really cool here, someone was asking, well, how do you use it? You just hit upscale, and then you'll get this as a option, zoom out times 2. It's that simple. You press a button and it zooms out and gives you an option. So pretty cool. You wonder if that was a response to Photoshop's generative fill, where they'd show you zoom out and then it creates this larger image. Antihero Blues. So hilariously, Mikey Wilson puts out this gorgeous AI work here. This is gorgeous, and it has just an echo of Picasso's Blue Period guitar player, doesn't it? But just an echo, and otherwise, I mean, it is gorgeous. So Mikey Wilson taking it to the next level, and I think he knew it because he put it on Foundation, right? I think, let me see if have they all, maybe they've all been on Foundation. I thought maybe some were on Object. Maybe he's doing both. But this one is quite beautiful. So a reserve of 0.12. It feels like a new summit here, I would say. I love the title. Seems to be a response. So it's just minted, I guess, today. It seems to be a response to the hero thing. So hilarious. Big shout out to Mikey Wilson. Board Me Social Club. This is a work I missed the other day. Just take the bag. Pretty cool work as usual from Board Me Social Club. Just again, I don't really know what to say about it other than just these surrealist scenes, some vampires here and there, the really cool kind of checkered, floor tiles, and just, cool spray around the person here. Again, and like this long arm that seems to be cut off a little bit with energy coming out. Just really interesting work. The 7-Eleven jacket, let's call it, and then even the details in the shirt. Quite beautifully painted, I have to say. So really nice work from Board Me Social Club. This is for the 200 Tezos event, and so maybe burned a few. So edition of 30 for only 2 Tezos. Look at this gorgeous work. I put an offer in it yesterday, and I was thrilled to have it accepted by Kurt Hustle Collective. And what's funny is I saw that work at first, and I thought it was nice. Then I was looking at Hasdrubal Waffles collection, and I saw it there, and I was like, let me take another look at this. And I thought, this is actually a spectacular work. It's funny, sometimes it takes a few times, right? And so 1997 by Kurt Hustle Collective, I was thrilled to be able to get one. Just a beautiful painting. A beautiful painting. Continuing on, Retro Manny with a signature work here for the signature series. I believe it's the Tezos Art Collective. And let me see, I think there's actually classic here. So pretty awesome. Seems to be like After Effects, I would guess, is being used here. So very cool work here from Retro Manny. I think it's 2 Tezos. I think you have like maybe a day or two to pick one up. It came out yesterday, so it's only 2 Tezos, so get it while you can. Uxine with a new work. Birth of a Chatbot. So another AI themed work here, chatbot type work. And a pretty interesting composition. I mean, you have your friar guy with the beautiful pixelated skulls, big and small pixels. You have the halo, beautifully distorted and kind of painterly, and you have this classic, medieval, early Renaissance trope here above O1. So maybe the first chatbot, almost like this Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, unveiling this little Mac, this little chatbot with a little square, interestingly, orbiting the screen, the old Mac here, a reverse copyright sign, which I think is super interesting because, AI and these chatbots do bring about a huge conversation in copyright. Because very likely, I think we can assume, ChatGPT, they probably scraped the internet. They scoured the internet and basically absorbed all the data that they could get. And then they have all their answers for everybody, but with, new language, basically. So that kind of, so a beautiful work here. by Uxine, beautifully painted and sold out, I'm pretty sure, right away. Let's just see how it sold here. So a sale at 101 Tezos each and sold within a minute. It sold within a minute. So Uxine makes a quick 1,100 Tezos, which is probably about $800 right away. Beautiful work here. Based on La Sacra Famiglia by Giovanni Domenico Serini. Let's actually very quickly bring that up here. And interesting. Oh, that's hilarious. Look at that. So there is the little chat bot over there. So quite actually a transformation. Quite a transformation there. Nice, what's cool is this is starting, you could call this appropriation. You could call this appropriation, but this is probably no more appropriation than a lot of Renaissance artists might have looked at others and quoted. This is more quoting than appropriation because it's getting transformed so much from here. It's almost unrecognizable. When I saw that, I thought, is that the right one? And it's only this cloth here and the Virgin Mary that makes it clear that, okay, yeah, that is in fact this work here. Very interesting, for lack of a better term, appropriation. I'd call it quoting. It is a gray zone. Look at this brilliant, brilliant work by Dan Control using the combination of other works that he previously made. The Mickey, the gradient Mickey, the Ledger, crypto cold storage wallet, the virtual reality device, and the beer, all from different works, all combined very wittily. It's a very witty work here by Dan Control, who continues to impress. This 21-year-old, incredibly prolific artist who is, to me, is really, as Ballard would say, accepting the logic of the digital art. He accepts its logic, which is reusing, as he put in that tweet, reusing, repurposing, remixing. It's layers, using the logic of digital art allows endless repetition, endless remixing, and that is what I absolutely love about this work. It accepts the logic of digital art making, for lack of better terms. So it's a celebration of digital art making is right here. So just fantastic work here by Dan Control. I saw that the Great Wave, the Hakusai homage that Dan did, got a bid yesterday. So that was great to see. It's probably selling right now. It's probably finishing the auction right now. GloomTube sent out a work, and this was great. I thought this was hilarious. Everybody's starting their own podcast, the Happy Hour podcast, and the classic, almost the cliche, neon sign in the background, and the two guys talking. This guy with his shoes unprofessionally, shoes undone, live with 0 viewers. And so this is, I thought, a brilliant, brilliant poetic work here by GloomTube on our contemporary world. A brilliant, brilliant work available for only $3.11. Podcast stamp in the Secret Stamp series by GloomTube. Big shout out to GloomTube. A new work by Daniel W. I thought this was super interesting. Citri. So it's the 12th spirit summoned in the Lesser Key of Solomon. I just thought, I've never seen a mythological creature like this before. And I think Daniel W. deserves a lot of credit. Either this is incredibly obscure, and he's really doing his research to bring it out of obscurity as a, spirit of sorts, of a subject in mythology, or, what you might, arcane, the Old Testament, whatever you want to, maybe mythology is not the right word, but you take the point. Mythological creatures. This is really, whether it's him being creative here or an actual representation of a fairly obscure icon, image of something, let's say, or image of a creature. Either way, with almost like the Basquiat crown on top, hilariously, I found it just super original. these wings in the front and like, a woman's legs maybe, and then maybe like an owl koala face. Very interesting. 3 Tezos, $2.32. A hilarious work by Wasteman Goldminovich. McDonald's, and they look like cigarettes, don't they? And it looks like almost like Marlboro, but they pun with the fries. Kind of a brilliant visual pun here. And then even the shadow itself kind of, has kind of a dark undertone to it, and then this bright yellow background. I thought this was brilliant, and the McDonald's colors, using kind of combining the Marlboro and the McDonald's colors. There's a lot of visual punning going on here, and it's quite brilliant. Open edition, only 42 cents. I am going to pick one of these up. 17 minted McSmokes, brilliant, by Wasteman Goldminovich. And another work by Stipin Pixel. This is also in collaboration with the gift gallery Rural Nights. And I thought this was really just kind of haunting. You have this house and you see almost these spirits. It's almost like, again, a psychological portrait of a house. There's almost something Edgar Allan Poe-esque about it in terms of just these, these spirits of sorts, or these, ghosts of people, and you see the life of the people in this house. It's almost, again, a psychological portrait of sorts, and even this kind of haunting light going on and off here in this large, strange house. And just on a technical level, look at the contrast between this incredibly flat blue here, and then you have the moving pixels. And once again, we see this in another artist, and it's just so powerful, this contrast. It's immediate poetry, and just how these kind of ghost-like figures come in and out, and there's something kind of haunting, but hauntingly beautiful about this work. And just finally, the color choice. One of my favorite color combinations is this kind of violet with this neon pink, a very modern palette here. Beautiful, beautiful work. 8 Tezos, edition of 25, 13 left. Maybe, just Stipin Pixel. And another just incredibly interesting pixel artist, which again, after RJ's discussion, I'm wondering, is pixel art, quote unquote, in a very general sense, is that going to be like the movement? I asked myself this question with no answer. It's an interesting question. After that conversation, I was asking myself, will this be a kind of like a visual arts movement of sorts, or style, or whatever you want to call it, that will really kind of capture a time and a place, let's say, or the start of a whole other branch in the visual arts? I'm not sure the answer. It's a big question. This is another brilliant work. I mean, again, we're looking at the last 24 hours of stuff I've found online. Most of this released in the last 24 to 36 hours, the great majority of this. And look at this, what I want to call a portrait of consumption. This beautiful portrait of consumption, this Coke machine, which is just, overloading, almost like, vomiting up all these Coke cans here. Just a wonderful portrait of consumption, a poetic portrait. Really nicely done by Ricano here. Is this still available? No, it is gone. Ricano does it again, accepts offer of 12, so really doing good work. Nice low editions. So that is a really nice work from Ricano here. Overload, nice title too. This is interesting. I saw Gogolitis retweeted this. Alina Het, Ephemerality. And I thought this was kind of an interesting combination. It almost looks like a photograph, right? But it's processed so much that you're not sure, and maybe it's changed, and it almost feels like maybe there was a photo to start this, but then it was kind of finished manually, is how this feels. I thought a really interesting, original treatment here. So this is by someone called Alina Het. Let's take a quick look at their page. That is their first work. Well, I will give Alina Het a follow. Pixel artist who is obsessed with the 90s. That sounds very promising, doesn't it? So a new discovery here. We'll see if Alina's collecting. And here's one by Pixel Quest. So pixel artist, a new pixel artist for all the pixel art people out there. And look at this, Under the Wave by LB. So another mention of another reference to Hokusai's Great Wave, that iconic image that we saw yesterday. And here LB does his own treatment here. And there is the LB figure surfing the Hokusai's Great Wave. And what's interesting about this is I think the other two images in this pop art, let's see what the pop culture remix series, they were static. So interestingly, LB adds a little bit of movement here. And again, combination. It looks to me, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not simply Mario Paint by itself. This is Mario Paint processed with all of LB's video analog equipment. And so it's giving it an extra rich texture. So just giving it that second level of interest, that other layer, which just makes anybody that's made art knows, the difference that makes, A genius work, again, by Gogolitis, the first on Solana for Gogolitis. Kitty Training 2 sold out. There were 20. I wish I could see I don't know how much they sold for. Now one is selling for 10 sol, which is approximately $167. So if you blinked, you missed it. So really cool work here by Gogolitis. And Gogolitis is just one of those artists that are immediately likable. For if you like this kind of work, like people just instantly love it and are fascinated by it. You could see his secondary is going up incredibly, is doing very well. Like Gogolitis seems to be really gaining momentum here after taking that long break, and you see why. I mean, from a color perspective, it is so rich. From just a fun perspective, it is so rich. And what's also kind of interesting, I mean, if you know Gogolitis' work, you'll recognize this little cat figure, and it appears also accepting the logic of digital art he's reusing. It appears to me, but creating completely different compositions, because I feel like I remember this, trope here, but with new color and new everything, also using the bricks. So he's probably, and this is something I've done, like I think, again, this is the logic of digital art. What I think is going on here on a certain level is taking layers from different compositions, or different, right? Here's the bricks from one composition. Here's the cat crossing the thing from another composition, and smashing them together, just as we saw with Dan Control in that Mickey piece. Accepting, not just, accepting the logic of digital art. Fascinating, beautiful. Here is a work, I think Dr. Version tweeted this out. I have a few works that Dr. Version tweeted out. His feed is excellent, by the way. I checked it today. I was like, let's see what Dr. Version's up to. All sorts of interesting work being tweeted. This is Vector Zero, who I'm not sure I've seen before. Isn't this an interesting abstract work here? Again, kind of has a pixel art sort of feel to it, or just a very basic work. And what I love about it, and again, it's sort of what we saw with Stip and Pixel. On one hand, we have the non-moving pixels, shall we call them? The non-moving pixels at the top, and then contrasting with the moving. There's something very poetic about this simple contrast, isn't there? And a very nicely done kind of wave here. So really interesting artist. It looks like they're on Object. Let's actually and Foundation. Let's quickly check. I may not have seen this person before. So very interesting here. And yeah, so I don't see that work posted. Maybe it's on their Foundation. So just very cool. And here's another one I found on Dr. Version's feed, Max Drecker, whose work we've looked at before. So this is called Trade. So this is interesting. And I think this is a preview of this series that Max Drecker is putting out called Elemental, a collection of 40 unique one-of-one monochromatic animated pieces. So we're kind of back to this profile picture PFP project. style of when, you get on the white list, or you buy it without knowing what you're going to get. You make it, and you make it really cheap so people think they're going to get their money back. And it's kind of like, a little bit of a lotto sort of style where you don't know what you're going to get out of it. Maybe you hit the jackpot here. So sold out not entirely. Actually, you can still buy it at 0.025 ETH. Really cool abstract artist, kind of geometric abstract artist that I first discovered on Tezos and is now on Foundation here on Ethereum. And cool, preview here, right? So just really cool to see that. This was really beautiful, I thought. François Gamma, an animation for Kristen Roos to embrace the actual situation he is living. So I'm not exactly sure what this is about, but basically an animation for Kristen Roos, who uses a lot of retro tools, I believe out of British Columbia. And here's François Gamma's tribute. Really beautiful, isn't it? So just a really fun, beautiful work here. Just a fun, beautiful digital artwork by François Gamma. Another one here. This is from 2009. And again, you see François Gamma kind of playing with the delay feedbacks, so to speak, in the bottom half of the picture. And look at how beautiful that is, how the pixels get left behind there. Leaving those pixels behind. I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful effect that is. Just beautiful. So François Gamma, that is 3 Tezos, $2.33, edition of 16. And she did also a Venus, which I'm tempted to pick up here as well. The Venus de Milo, and here a very cool digital version. I mean, again, just made for the museum, isn't it? So beautiful work there. Silva Santus, so we saw that really cool waterfall the other day. I saw it on, I think it's going for 48 Tezos now. I guess other people liked it too. On secondary, drifting through the glitch storms. There's a new one here, only 98 Tezos cents, edition of 66. And again, just a really original take on the glitch ROM process. So really cool. You see a bit of a ship in a storm here. We had a massive storm here yesterday in Berlin. Yeah, so just a cool kind of, almost want to call it like a narrative painting of sorts. Symbolic Vision. So this is an artist who I'm not sure, I feel like we've looked at them maybe once before. It's distantly familiar. See them here, and I don't know their name. Maybe it's listed on their Twitter. Svezzer, something like that, is an experimental art project. And what I love about it is it looks like let's look at this work here. This is a one of one, by the way, for all you collectors out there, for 100 Tezos, which isn't that much money right now, $70. I think it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it looks like it's almost using some sort of video game design software. Maybe it's Mario Paint, but I don't think so. It seems like a bit more refined. I don't think I've ever used Mario Paint. Maybe once I tried. But here you see, again, these kind of Super Mario stars here. It kind of feels oddly familiar in its, and you get all these just elements. Kind of reminds me, actually, of that waterfall artist that we were just looking at here. So, Symbolic Vision, Genesis, Sublime Intuition. This series is a conceptual research on archives and old technologies that run through all my works presented on the Tezos blockchain. And I believe I brought up another work here, Symbolic Vision number 2, also a one of one, only 80 Tezos. And this one has a bit more of an Egyptian feel to it. And again, it looks like it's taking, video game squares. I don't know, I don't think you'd call them hexadecimals, but hexes, or I'm not sure what you'd call them, but these squares, and creating compositions out of them. So super cool. This one's Egyptian. So very cool there. Again, this one kind of random, but also very cool. And you see here, it's pretty consistent. I mean, this looks like maybe Street Fighter or something, this virtual mirage here. So maybe different video games being used. This kind of looks like Mario a little bit. So there it is. And also, Debbie T tweeted out this hilarious work here. Mega crazy good. So this is, Roy's, Let's Party Till We Drop, Bouncin' Bonanza. So a collaboration between Disco Kid 909 and featuring YKH Yucca Amelt's characters here. And so you got to see this. It is hilarious. So It almost sounds like Donna Summer's bass line on I Feel Love. So, I mean, you gotta laugh. This is hilarious. And it is crazy good. So it really, a bit of the Donna Summer, I Feel Love, the Giorgio Moroder bass line there, it seems. Beautiful work. Max capacity. Open edition for 5 Tezos. Look at this. So, I mean, pretty rad. You just gotta love like the sensory feel. This is just it's hard not to like this work. It's just kind of the explosiveness of it. Analog VHS video glitch, max capacity, 33 minted, only $3.89 to add to your awesome glitch collection. Look at this. So what is IANA? Of course, we've been looking at what is IANA for a long time on this show. Look at how, really struggled at the start, then had a breakthrough. Then I didn't see for a while. I guess he's been minting on Foundation. And now Cosmo de Medici is dropping What is IANA? So GM, we're back at Art Tank Tuesday in partnership with Rollbit.com. Each week we acquire $1,500 of art. Today, this curator here, Pia, is joining us as a guest curator. So Pia, but Cosmo, nevertheless, who's a huge figure in this space, you see 100,000 views here. So tweeting out, what is IANA? And look at this work. I mean, I didn't see any of this. I would have happily have shown it here. So this is what is IANA has been up to. So on Foundation, which is why I have missed it here. So nice evolution of the whole, because one of the great things about What is IANA at the beginning was one of the first people to really combine painting on top of AI. From my understanding of what is IANA is doing, a new addition seems to be these really nice, what I want to call like magic wand fills. I use them all the time. I love those fills. Because they give you these beautiful textures. So really interesting, nice work here by What is IANA, who just persists the power. And look, I mean, they're all sold. Medici Emerging. The whole series is sold out. I think. Oh, no, sorry. There are still 3 left at 0.1244. So very interesting, cool work here. Tribute to Broke Day, this series on Foundation. And also, Clown Vamp is also doing very well here. AI artist, as we move into AI. So I believe this work here, and I think we have them all big. That sold for 2 ETH, so $4,000. 3,400 for these great ballerinas here. And then Doves by the Sea is at 2,500 right now. Let me just bring them up big. So these are on Super Rare, and I believe these are in New York at that show with, I think, Super Chief and Super Rare involved. So you see the painterliness of these works here. And I was looking for the IPFS because people have told me that's how you get the very big version of these, and I actually couldn't find the IPFS, which was kind of strange, because usually it's down here, right? So I'm not sure why I can't find it. So all to say, here are the works, and very cool, beautifully painted works, is what I want to call them. The Crowded Stage, 1905, and again, this looks like maybe, it's like a kind of Manet colors, maybe a touch of Renoir. Doves by the Sea, 1882. So just beautiful works here by Clown Vamp, and all selling. I mean, again, you see just like in the shadow here, the wonderful texture and painterliness of modern AI artists. Fascinating. And here's Mr. Shapley, another interesting AI artist. Just a GM here with this really interesting landscape here, done with AI. So, and then this beautiful, almost, Renaissance, Mona Lisa-like background here. And finally, a combination of physical and digital. So this is by Rogerin, the person who I was trying to think of with the sketchbook work I believe we saw yesterday. So this is textures, this is called Exit Hall, textures and memories with handmade drawing on paper and digital coloring. So it looks like handmade on paper and then colored digitally. So a hybrid here. And this is for only 1 sol, and it's a 1 of 1. So you can put a bid in there, pretty reasonably priced there. And Diego Beiro, with a physical exhibition June 22nd, I believe in Argentina, doing the pen work here, and it looks like really cool. It'd be great to see pictures. Working also with Dando Vueltas. Maybe that's the title of the show, Dando Vueltas, because it all looks like Diego Beiro here doing the pen work on canvas. And that is your show, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again, and I hope you have a great weekend. Till next time, take care.